And welcome to the Steelers Depot live stream here on this Monday, August 22nd. No, it's been a while since Dave and I have gotten together with you guys to do a Steelers live stream with training camp, keeping and occupying much of my time over the last month. Just really didn't have time in the schedule to make it work, but camp is over and we are back. So I'm going to set things up here. Hopefully, won't have too many things to figure out here to start the stream. I want to check audio here in just 1 second, and as always, joined with me is Dave Bryan. Dave, how you doing? In the chat, if you could let me know if you hear Dave, if there's any sort of audio issues, please let me know. But Dave, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Check. How is everybody on this Monday?
Hopefully everyone doing well. Pittsburgh 2-0 on the preseason, fresh off their win 16-15 over the Jacksonville Jaguars Saturday night. So we'll talk about that, talk training camp, talk a season preview, whatever you guys want to discuss here in the chat. But again, if you guys could let me know if you heard Dave there. If you did, we're good to go. If not, we'll do a quick couple audio adjustments. Let me try to see what the chat has any sort of update here. All sounds good, James says. Someone can just confirm there is no, as long as no one sounds like a robot or static or anything that sounds bad. If that's all good, then we can proceed. So let me just, maybe one or two more people could just let me know if the audio sounds okay. And if so, then we'll get started. I see a super chat from Tim Chase that we'll get to here in just a moment. But I want to make sure everything sounds good. Mutated Genome, glad you're here with us again. He says we're good to go, so I guess we're good to go. We'll start off here with Tim Chase, $5 super chat, says, how did they misjudge James Daniels so badly? I do want to caution that the season has not started yet, and I think there's a newness and an adjustment that this whole offensive line is undergoing right now. It's not just Daniels struggling, but certainly that's a guy that I didn't expect and anticipate being worried about, that I'm certainly worried about right now. So what are your thoughts on Daniels a couple weeks into the year?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, I haven't watched all of training camp like you did, but you had notable concerns heading into the preseason, and the preseason tape hasn't been great at all, really. For hard, I mean, let's just not talk about him. I mean, right. the entire offensive line as well. I mean, look, I mean, his tape from the Bears was obviously better than this tape so far. So, just trying to utilize, I think, what Pat Meyer is teaching and put it into action, if you will. And yeah, he's got some new people, that he's working with. But I mean, they've had all summer and all off season to kind of work through this stuff. So. He's not going anywhere. I'll tell people that. I mean, and for what they paid for him, they're gonna try to suffer through this. So we'll just have to watch and see if it gets better. Starting against in this game against the Lions on Sunday.
Right, and I think it is reasonable to expect improvement. I think these guys look really uncomfortable in the system right now, and that comfort should improve. How much better does things get? That's impossible to say. That's the $1,000,000 question, but I don't think it'll be this bad and this difficult looking right now, but certainly you want to see improvements and see them sooner than later, and at least hopefully end the preseason on a decent note, so you feel better going into week one against a pretty talented Bengals pass rush led by Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. If you guys could like the chat and the stream, that would really help us out a lot as well, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Have a $5 super chat from C Wilson 2012, so thank you for that. Says, what's the deal with Hamilka and Robinson getting first team reps? Camp's over, so I'm not there to get eyes on things anymore. I don't know if that's what situation that came, if that was scout team stuff, that was rotation type stuff. Robinson has certainly earned a longer look, and Devin Bush is dealing with an ankle injury. Alex Highsmith still has that rib issue, so that's maybe creating some more opportunities there. What are your thoughts on those guys maybe getting an elevated role?
Look, I mean, if people listen to the podcast and read what I put out on Twitter, especially today, I'm all for it. Especially when it comes to Mark Robinson. I thought he played really well in that second preseason game. I thought he played well in the first as well too, but he really shined. Really stuck out on that all 22 from that game the other night there. So, and it looks like things are going to shape up that way for Sunday against the Lions, because Devin Bush now is dealing with some sort of ankle injury here that evidently is going to probably keep him limited here for the rest of the week, if not sideline him come Sunday. Miles Jack's done enough as far as what I've seen on tape so far that put him in bubble wrap right now as far as I'm concerned there. So we'll see what happens with Marcus Allen if he can make his debut. From missing all that time with the hamstring injury there, and I'm all for varsity reps for Mark Robinson there, and it certainly sounds like there's a good chance that we might see just that, and especially if Miles Jack does not play on Sunday. Now Hamilcar Rashid, I thought he played fine in this second preseason game. I don't think he jumped out of on the tape as much as Mark Robinson did. But you have Alex Highsmith still dealing with that rib injury. You're probably not going to play T.J. Watt in this game. Jannard Avery, he could use some snaps, I think, and even if he does or doesn't play, I think you're going to see Hamilcar Rashid get some early snaps in this game, along with Derek Tuska as well there. So I think they want to take a good look at Hamilcar now that he's had a couple of weeks now to get his feet underneath him. I'm all for it. I've talked about edge rushers all offseason as far as the depth goes, and inside linebacker, man, what they got right now, they could use a shooting star like Mark Robinson. And if people didn't see it, we got a film room up this morning on SteelersDepot.com by I think Jonathan Heitritter did that one, and it really shows all the good things that Mark Robinson did in that game against the Jaguars.
I try to be tempered and measured with some of these rookies, especially later round guys, but I get pretty excited just thinking and watching about Mark Robinson because this guy's got some of the traits you really look for: his physicality, his downhill ability, just the intensity he plays with is a really good starting spot for a guy that's raw, needs a lot of work, and he's not, NFL play defense week one ready yet, but I think there's certainly an attractiveness in terms of his game and mentality that I want to see more of going forward. So excited to watch him in the preseason finale. He should play a ton of snaps against Detroit on Sunday.
I'd leave him out there as much as he wants to play.
Yeah, and then some. See how good that conditioning is,
Yeah, absolutely I would. I mean, why not? I mean, there's a good chance that you're going to need, someone like him to play some meaningful snaps at some point during the season, and maybe even earlier than later as well too. So great opportunity to get a lot of burn in this game. And once again, I don't think Miles Jack should play in this game. We'll see if Mike Tomlin agrees with that. And I mean, what more do you need to see out of Robert Spillane at this point anyway? I mean, who he is and is not at this time. So, numbers might dictate that you have to play him a little bit, but I would give a lot of the burn, and we'll see about Marcus Allen as well too. I want to see Marcus Allen on that field if he's healthy enough to play as well. But Mark Robinson should get a lot of burn in this game.
And I think Marcus Allen should play in this game, barring a setback. He was really close to returning full in practice on that last day of camp last Thursday, so I think he should be good to go for that preseason finale. I try to stay away from it because it was cliche, but there's a lot of Vince Williams comparisons with Mark Robinson. And if he ends up playing as a rookie, then Vince did too when Larry Foote, tore his pec that week one. So there's a pretty good one-to-one comparison between Vince and Mark Robinson.
And Mark Robinson moves a little bit better in space than Vince did,
Yeah, a little quicker.
As well. And he's got that want-to, man. I mean, he's not afraid to stick his head up in there. It looks like he's a little bit of a trash talker, too, if you look at the all-20, all 22, man. It looked like there's a lot of chirping going on with him. And, and look, I'm not going to put him in the Pro Bowl or the Hall of Fame just yet here when it comes to him. But this is a guy that's only has one season linebacker under his belt. So, in your mind, you're thinking, man, he could probably get better here,
Oh, sure. He can get a lot better. And maybe, and I want to get to Double H8's super chat here in a second, but maybe the one silver lining to him not playing linebacker a lot is there are not a lot of bad habits you have to coach him out of. He's just kind of a big, raw lump of clay that you can, Brian Flores can mold into his own vision, which is pretty unique there. Got a really generous super chat here from Double HH, $20. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That certainly means a lot to Dave and myself. With a down to earth comment, which we appreciate as well. It says Steelers fans need to be realistic about what is available to us, either by signing couch free agents or dumpster diving for castoffs. That is all. I assume that's in reference primarily to the offensive line, and you're definitely right about that. Double HH. Will this team look at? I think they probably will. Will it be somebody that's going to turn around this season? Probably not. O-line talent's scarce to begin with. A lot of teams are searching for it. Few teams have it. The teams that do have it aren't trying to get rid of their quality offensive line depth. I think Pittsburgh will look to explore. They've already retooled their entire third-string offensive line, but it's kind of what you got is what you got at this point, barring some sort of real, diamond in the rough type of signing. And so you just have to really get reps and hope that you can make the current group work.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you for that super chat there, Double HH. I want to scroll back up to our first comment, non-super chat here, but appreciate it all the same. Zachary Prosba says, welcome back, guys. Regarding the quarterback battle, would you start Kenny Pickett this week and then bring in Mitch Trubisky? Best producer wins the starting job. Thanks. That's an interesting question. Will Trubisky play in this game? If he does, I don't imagine it'll be a ton of playing time overall. I certainly would play Pickett a lot though, to learn as much as you can about him. So essentially, Pickett would get most, if not the entire first half, and then Rudolph probably some in the second half, and maybe Oladokun last 2-3 drives of that game. But I want to see more and more out of Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I want to see more than 10 snaps.
Right. Sure.
And I think he deserves a start. Why not let him start? You've done everything else up until this point, but do that. You've taken him up the line. You had him obviously open up the second half. That went well. You had him as the second quarterback in the game in this last week. Why not see how he goes about preparing and actually starting a preseason game at this point? And if you feel like now, look, Mitch is saying all the right things. Mitch wants to get as much work as possible. I get that. Why not flip the two? Why not flip these two? Every third series or something, even if you wanted to do something like that. But 10. Yeah, people should know how I feel by listening to the podcast from the game the other, as we recap from the other night. They gave me enough that I wanted more right. of Kenny Pickett, and I was really, really hoping we would see him open up that second half and play another series or two. So, if they want to start Pickett against the Lions Sunday, have at it.
That's what I would do. I don't know if they would determine your starter. I made the commentary on the podcast today, so I'll just relay it here. I think Kenny Pickett's ready to start week 1, and I don't say that lightly and as a hot take and as a knee-jerk thing, just the overall body of work. I think you start a rookie quarterback when he's ready to start, and I think Kenny Pickett has definitely shown he is ready to start week 1. Now, I think Mitch Trubisky will still be this team's week 1 starter at Cincinnati, but I think it's a matter of time until Kenny Pickett sees the field. All right, next question comes from Mutated Genome. Says, hi, Alex and Dave. Have you seen anything that justifies either Bush or Green making the final roster? Little on start, let alone starting, I think was what he was trying to say. Of course, they will make the team, but from what I've seen, it's undeserving. I don't think Bush has been necessarily quite as bad as others have made it out to be. It's not been good. It's certainly left me wanting more. And I think Green, like the rest of this offensive line, is struggling to adjust to some of the new techniques, but make no mistake, Green has struggled fairly mightily. That goes back to the conversation that you and I had when they talked during the offseason about would they move Kendrick Green from center to left guard, his quote-unquote more natural position. We said that's all well and good, but that's not going to clean up the actual technical issues in his game, and those things are certainly still persisting in your number 2.
As I commented the other night there, this was a better game, but and probably Bush's best game, and I don't know how long, but it wasn't. It was, it's nowhere near where it needs to be. That's how bad his previous performances have been. That and we get busted on this podcast and on these live streams for not even given the least amount of praise sometimes. So I want to make sure that everybody knows this was a better game for Bush, but I also want to make sure I qualify that and let everyone know that he had nowhere to go but up, basically. There are some moments in this tape against the Jaguars that makes you, kind of give that wince in pain type face, if you will. And I'm pretty sure I had that look on my face a few times by going over the tape on that. Now, Kendrick Green is a lot easier to cut, in my opinion, than Devin Bush. Devin Bush is due a 3.068 424, so slightly over $3 million is what Devin Bush is set to make in 2022. And oh, by the way, that's fully guaranteed.
Yeah, so he's not going anywhere. I mean, both guys will stay, and I know MG acknowledged that as well. Kendrick Green, I think, can get better, but it's going to be such a just roll of the dice. It's really, truly 50-50. He struggles more with three tacks and guys off his body. The overall technique needs to be cleaned up in terms of moving his feet. When he punches, his feet stop, and when guys counter, when they try to, use more finesse moves, he's really had an issue there. And then just dealing with bull rushes, he's not hop-stepping correctly and just struggling to really anchor and stall some of that stuff out. So, Kevin Dotson, I think, should still be this team starter at left guard, but both guys, neither guy has played well enough to really earn that spot, in my opinion. Let's see. Next question comes from Matt Bell. Says, hi, Alex and Dave. Since Bush is not playing well and no great options for the number 2 inside linebacker, what do you think of playing Edmonds as the hybrid inside linebacker while Casey takes a spot at safety next to Minka? I've gotten that a lot, so I'll let you answer this first, Dave. What are your thoughts about moving Edmonds into a hybrid linebacker position?
I mean, you can put him on the field in a 3 safety look in certain instances, and maybe have him be one, obviously down in the box and play. But to flat out right now at this point in his career convert him to an inside linebacker, I realize what happened with Marcus Allen and all like that, but that's not his role right now. And I think it would be a lot to ask for him at this point right now. Maybe if you had done something earlier in the offseason or along those lines, maybe you could do it. But I understand the reasoning and why the listener is asking that question, because he's his entire career, he's been better down the closer you get him to the line of scrimmage. And make no mistake about it, he jumped off the tape the other night. So that in of itself is the positive there, is that you're getting him jumping off the tape in preseason action there. But as far as making him an every down inside linebacker, I would bet against that happening, especially this point in the offseason.
I'm 100% with you, Dave. That was a great answer. I don't really have a whole lot to add. Again, I understand why Matt is asking that and suggesting that, but it's too late in the process. Edmonds, is comfortable in his spot, and there's going to be unintended consequences of trying to move him to inside linebacker in a more serious way. So I just don't see that as realistic. I think more realistic is Spillane eating into Devin Bush's playing time throughout the season on more 3-4 based Okie type stuff, as opposed to Edmonds becoming that de facto, a hybrid linebacker. Let's see. Robert Cotting says, what running back would you have backing up Najee? I want to see how Sunday's finale goes, but I think Jaylen Warren is getting closer and closer to cementing his place on this roster. So it'll be Harris, Snell, and Warren, who would be the number 2. There's a lot of trust in Benny Snell, but certainly Jaylen Warren shows more traits as being an actual better runner. And so if Warren continues to do well, I think you would look at Harris, Warren, Snell as kind of being the depth chart for week 1.
I would agree, and I think you could use whichever one of Snell or Warren, maybe in some situational cases, right? Maybe Snell in some in some instances, short yardage or whatnot. And look, if we've learned one thing about Warren this preseason, or at least for me, and his numbers dictated one thing, but he is good out of the backfield as a pass catcher. So he kind of gives you the best of both worlds as far as a power back and a change of pace back sort of. He's not a scat, kind of change of pace back, but he can get it done in open field. He's caught that touchdown in that first preseason game from Pickett showed him in tight quarters there, being able to make a catch and reach over and and score a touchdown there. I understand that probably 98% of you listening to this live stream right now want Benny Snell off the roster. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we hear that, we see that every day, but I'm here to tell you, and I've said this for a while, that's a hard chore to get him off. Because Mike Tomlin likes him. B, he's worth his weight on special teams, and C, just look at that effort that he gave you on that touchdown the other night there. Those three things all combined in basically one game is the reason why Benny Snell remains a strong candidate to make this roster as a backup running back.
Definitely. I think, assuming that Warren and Snell make it as the backups behind Najee, there might be a bit of a messy distribution of snaps behind Najee Harris, the few that there are to go around, because Najee's still going to play 70, minimum 80%, of the time. I think Warren, is a better runner. Snell the better special teamer is kind of the broad way to look at it. So I would lean towards Warren being more the number 2, but you're probably going to see a split there, at least maybe early on until Warren kind of proves himself when the games actually begin to count. Let's see. Next question comes from Daniel. Is this Meyer's scheme or just a lack of talent? I suggest the Steelers bench Moore, move Chooks to left tackle, and start Haig at right guard. I feel Moore will get both Trubisky and Pickett killed by game 4. I assume that means Haig at right tackle. I'm going to take that, Daniel, and Chooks to left tackle.
Again, the Haig mystery was solved today, thank goodness.
Right, that was the worst game of Clue ever, was Haig with a concussion, so hopefully he's okay, but that's the reason why he did not play. I think Moore's going to still start the year at left tackle, but if that experiment goes poorly, and he's got some tough matchups early in the year, I think Hendrickson week 1 and Myles Garrett week 3, could there be a change? I just hate moving more offensive linemen than I have to, to move Chooks and then have Haig come in at right tackle. That's not ideal, especially so late in this process. So I think, is it the scheme or talent? It's probably some of both, honestly. Whenever it's this bad, it's usually not just one thing. There's an adjustment to the scheme. And obviously, these guys are not, future Pro Bowlers or Hall of Famers we're talking about here.
Yeah, sometimes the cup that you fashion out of clay is dependent on the quality of the clay.
Right. Right. And the clay is not, the clay is cracking right now. So, we'll see how it goes there, Daniel. Robert Cutting again. Who's the better receiver, Sims or Boykin? I mean, they're different body types, different guys. I mean, Sims is more of an outside receiver than people think. I'll say Boykin is the better receiver overall, but they win in different ways. They're very two different body types.
Right.
Let's see. John Pennington, our friend John Pennington says, hello, Dave and Alex. Do you guys believe it's time the Steelers start drafting offensive linemen in the first 3 rounds in the draft for the next 2 years? It's hard to say those things so concretely right now because, it depends on who's available, what other needs are. But certainly there's probably just, broad understanding this team needs to get back to investing earlier and heavier draft capital in the offensive line, something they have not done in a little bit. That's how they did it back in the 2010s with Pouncey and DeCastro, Gilbert, etc. There were some diamonds in the rough, Foster, Villanueva, but there was a base of the first round, second round pedigree guys. And so that's probably where you're going to really start to look at this offseason.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. All right, I'm going to put myself out there.
Let me sit down for this. Hold on.
All right, sit down. Everybody's sitting. The Steelers are going to draft an offensive lineman in their first 3 picks in the 2023 NFL draft.
Whew, I'm glad I was sitting down for that one.
Everybody okay?
Wait, chat, you guys good? Now, will they take one with all of the first 3 picks? The first, second, and third round?
The question is, should they?
Right, and the answer might be yes to that.
Look, the pedigree right now is not there. Even a core 4 who's almost by default been their best offensive lineman so far. I mean, essentially, if you had to, you could rip that deal up. It's basically, there'd be a little bit of dead money involved, but it would be like paying him a little over, $10 million or so for 1 year. I mean, I think he'd have to be pretty awful for that to happen. And we'll obviously see what happens with Daniels moving forward. Cole, first year with the Steelers there. But, I mean, we're going to learn a lot about that left guard spot, whoever it is. And that left tackle spot with Dan Moore by week 6, probably by week 4, but most definitely by week 6 of the season as far as that goes. I'm here to tell you I took a lot of crap for this last season by pointing out early in the season the things wrong with Kendrick Green. And then later on in the season, people saying, well, just move him to guard. My response to that was, you know what happens when you take a bad center and you move him to guard? You get a bad guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of crap for that as well, too. Kendrick Green is not going to be the answer there. So you better keep your fingers crossed that Kevin Dotson is,
yep.
At least for this year. This Kevin Dotson's got a lot on the line here. There's a proven performance escalator waiting for Kevin Dotson if he plays enough snaps this year, right? So
right.
This guy's, I mean, they all have incentive, don't get me wrong, but this is essentially a make or break year for Kevin Dotson. If this doesn't go well, even if he sticks on the roster the final year of his rookie contract, it wouldn't be as a starter there. So this really bears watching all across the line, really.
It definitely does. I mean, Pittsburgh this offseason invested heavily in center and right guard. You're looking at left tackle, left guard next offseason. And I think that team's going to be aggressive and try to make some moves there. I don't know who it could be, but, this does not get better relatively quickly. First month of the season, we're talking a whole new left side of the line in 2023. Let's see. Corey S. Who the heck are we going to cut at running back and wide receiver? I guess it's a good problem to have, but wow, are there some tough decisions to make? I don't think running back is particularly tough right now. I think it's a pretty fair bet it's going to be Harris and Warren and Snell. McFarland's had a decent summer, faded a bit for the last week or so, kind of been phased out some. I don't think that's incredibly difficult. And receiver, I mean, do you see receiver as a difficult decision at this point? Your top 5 are pretty locked. Looking number 6 with Boykin, is that tough there for you, Dave?
No, it's not. I mean, you could draw out a good argument, I guess, of the number 6. But I mean, if that's the only position that you're questioning, then the rest is and has been cut and dry. Just keep your fingers crossed. Austin can get going here. It sounds like his foot's getting better. We'll have to see what that means for Sunday and if he can finally get on the field. Even if he does, how far has the train gotten out of the station at this point that might take him a little bit to get caught up there, meaning that even if he's healthy and plays in this finale, might he be inactive in the first week or two or whatever until he gets going again here. And if indeed that's the case, that guy that dresses in his place better have some special teams value. And Boykin, when you're talking non-return man capabilities, Boykin easily has Steven Sims closed out in that category there. So it would, in my book right now, from where I sit, it's Boykin over Steven Sims, especially with Gunnar Olszewski being your return guy.
Yeah, Sims is pretty much blocked by Gunnar right now. If an injury were to happen, that would change that conversation. But I think Boykin's going to make this team there. I will say, hopefully, Calvin Austin, he'll need that 4.32 speed to catch that moving train. Hopefully, he can play in the finale, but it certainly would not be a shock at this point if he was a game day scratch week 1 at Cincinnati. Let's see. Steel Pastor says Coach Meyer is also adding in some new techniques. He is. I've written about that extensively, starting in the offseason. Last week's video today on some of the new techniques and where the issues are really coming from as specifically as possible. So that is certainly true. John Pennington, Dave, and Alex like to see Dunkel get more playing time at both guard positions. What do you think? He'll work just right guard, which is fine. He just kind of got here, played 18 snaps last week. So keep him in one spot. Let him just try to put on good tape at one spot, but we'll see if he can grab a practice squad spot.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing to watch. And here's the thing. He's going to probably play late in this game because Mike Tomlin's probably going to want to play those I know it's a starting 5, but essentially it's a starting 6 right now. Probably well into the at least the first half of this game, I would think. And did Dunkel do enough on tape at right guard in his 18, 19 snaps to warrant more snaps in the finale? Absolutely, he did. I think he'll get it. And I think what he's doing is he's trying to be one of those late guys that end up making the practice squad.
Absolutely. And Pittsburgh certainly leaving no stone unturned when it comes to the bottom of their offensive line room. They have literally overhauled their entire third string offensive line, brought in basically a brand new group of 5 or 4 maybe, and to really just try to get some new faces there. Dunkel being part of that group. Corey S., do you think we keep an extra defensive lineman on the roster this year? Also going to be tough to cut that room down. Yeah, I don't know how you go to 6. I think you have to keep 7 unless there's an injury or some other unforeseen circumstance. Maybe Adams isn't healthy enough, but he looked okay at the end of training camp. I think you have to go 7, Dave.
Yeah, depends on how bad that. I mean, we'll have to see. If Adams can get into this game, but there's still even 20 days to go until until week 1, and you would hope that ankle, if he's not healthy enough to play this Sunday, would be healthy enough by week 1. But then comes into the aspect of the whole conditioning factor at this point and all like that. Is this setting up? And I don't know, because I mean you've seen him probably hobbling around, Alex, since he suffered that injury at this point. Is this potentially a case where he makes the initial 53 and then goes to IR for 3 weeks? And then, so yeah, you would technically have to carry the 7 defensive linemen to on your initial 53, but then turn around and do one of those merry-go-rounds where Adams goes to IR and can return as the 7th. What is the minimum? I think 3 weeks now.
Right. Did they change that? 3-4 is one of the 2. Yeah,
I think they changed that. I'll have to look, but it all depends on his ankle. Short answer to the question is, on the initial 53, there's likely to be 7. Right. But is that going to be for 24 hours? Or is it going to be on into week 1? I think the real answer to that lies in the trainer room, which we do not have access to.
And for whatever it's worth, I don't know the nature of Adams' ankle injury, obviously, but he walked around fine the last week of practice. He would catch footballs, he'd come down the stairs, so he doesn't seem to be incredibly serious, but I'm just guessing there. Want to thank the chat. Over 100 people here in the chat, so really appreciate that. I know we've been away from these live streams for a little while, so always encouraging and heartening to see a lot of people show up here and talk Steelers with us as we begin the season. We'll try to get back on our regular every other week schedule going forward. Tim Chase says Adrian Ely, much of anything. That's the offensive tackle signed today. I know Tom Mead thought he's a better guard than a tackle, played too high overall. He's bounced around quite a bit in just a couple of years in the NFL. I haven't watched his tape since entering the NFL with Baltimore. He's been with the Rams a couple times, so I don't know how he looks, but we should probably see him a little bit late in the finale against Detroit.
Well, once you get the pieces of the puzzle all together, and it's easy to start figuring out reasoning behind all this after the fact. And I think thus was the case on Monday. We learned that Joe Haig is in concussion protocol. When they signed Ely, they let go Tucker, who has yet to play an offensive snap in the preseason. So that tells you a lot there. To me, this move was made with Ely from the sheer fact that they needed, they were going to need another tackle that could play maybe some snaps and not be out there in left field and not at least have some experience in that. Now, to date, Adrian Ely has been on multiple teams. He's been a practice squad player only to date. He has no NFL snaps to date, and in his 2 preseasons right now, he's played all of 42 snaps. He has 4 at left tackle and 38 at right tackle. So not even any guard mixed in there either. So when and if he plays Sunday, it's probably going to be late, and it's probably not going to be a lot, and it's probably going to be at right tackle. That's a lot of probablys, but that's what we got to go on right there. It really feels like, I mean, if they're to this point, and they might very well be, where this guy becomes the best candidate to make the practice squad as a tackle, then that's scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I think you're probably right on everything you said there, Dave. Let's see. Daniel Hayes, Warren making the 53 with 2 question marks. Yeah, I won't write that in pen. Got to see how he finishes the summer, but I'm liking his chances right now. I know. When's your roster prediction coming out? I'm not sure.
Probably in the morning.
Okay.
In the morning.
Oh.
And here's the thing with him. I mean, the really only blemish that you have on Warren, at least what I've seen him, Alex has saw the whole 16 practices of him at training camp, but that fumble in that first preseason game is really the only blemish that you have on him at this point. He's answered really, I think, all the questions and answered the bell in every other situation there. Pass protection, running inside, outside zone. I mean, inside the tackles. He's caught the football. I mean, he could play a little bit on special teams. I don't think he's going to be a 4-team core player, but I think he's a guy that you can put out there on 2 teams at least. So that ups his value in and of itself. So, yeah, I think barring him putting the football on the ground in this finale against the Lions, I think he makes it.
Yep, I'm with you as well. And really, ball security has been the only, big concern or blemish. Everything else has been really good from him as a runner, as a special teamer, getting, hats on different units, as a pass protector, his fearlessness, his conditioning, which is always important, always overlooked. He's just been ready, available every single day for a pretty heavy workload when some injuries piled up in the backfield. So overall, it's been a good summer for Jaylen Warren. He equals onto the football in the finale. He'll make this team. Tim Chase, any chance of shuffling of the line could help flip tackles and or guards? I hate doing that stuff, and I don't know how much it's really going to help. You change, you totally mirror a guy's, placement and his steps and things like that. You're just adding that guy thinking more. Generally, I'm pretty against that again, especially so late in this process.
Yeah, me too. Unless you're going to bring, even bringing someone in from the outside, it would be a 1-for-1 kind of switch right now. And I'd be surprised if anybody of substance. I mean, they'll obviously, and they need to scan these final cut downs, and but other teams are going to be scanning it as well too.
Right.
So you're not the only team looking for that extra swing tackle or extra swing guard or even a starting guard or tackle at this point here. So I think what you see pretty much is what you get right now.
There's about 20 teams in the NFL saying, man, we could use that extra offensive lineman at X spot, and Pittsburgh's just part of that big group. They may need it more, but everyone needs it pretty badly. Bond Stockdale, I believe this is a commentary on my Pickett should start comment. Bond says, it's more setting him up for success. Patrick Mahomes was ready to start for a while, but they brought him in when he was most comfortable. I don't know if Mahomes was truly day one ready. He was coming from a more spread system at Texas Tech. There was probably more mechanical work to do with him. Kenny Pickett, though, looks pretty comfortable to me. I mean, everyone talks about how relaxed and calm he is, so I think Kenny Pickett would say he's ready to start. So, I think Trubisky will be the week 1 starter, but to me, Kenny Pickett has checked all the boxes. That tells me this guy's good to go to be given that opportunity.
I really think right now the most intriguing thing is what happens to Mason Rudolph at this point. To me, I think I've thought all along Trubisky, really has Trubisky done enough to lose the number 1 spot yet? I think that's the honest question everybody needs to ask themselves right now. Has Trubisky done enough to lose the starting spot? And I don't think he has. That's not taking any shot at Pickett now, all of you. I think Pickett's played absolutely fine. The only thing like I told Alex, the only thing that I lack right now wanting to see out of Kenny Pickett, I just want to see him push the football down the field a little bit more. That's the only thing with him. Now, with all that said, all of us here today know it's only a matter of time before Kenny Pickett hits the field in 2022. It's going to happen. It probably just needs to happen kind of on a natural, basis here, and whether that be after a miserable first game or after a miserable first 4 games or a so-so first 6 games, Kenny Pickett's going to play. I just am not convinced that right now that the Steelers are ready to pull the trigger and make Kenny Pickett the Week 1 starter. We'll see what happens in this final preseason game, obviously. But if I had to bet right now, and my thoughts in this too is Trubisky has not done enough to lose the job. Maybe he will in the finale, but that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I get that. I think that's likely to happen with Pickett, sitting, being the number 2 Week 1. But if he's going to start at some point, then why wait? Just play him. Don't wait for the inevitable failure. Don't plan for failure. Plan for Trubisky to struggle and have the controversy and have the questions being asked. Just, Pickett's good. He's good. He's starting sooner or later. Why wait this process? Why wait for this team to potentially be in a hole? Just go play the guy you drafted to be that franchise quarterback. I think he's been able to obtain and deserves that opportunity. Will it happen? I doubt it, but I'm now in the camp of, Pickett has checked the box, the ready to play box. He has written that in pen. Let's see. I want to go through some questions here. We have a lot to go through. Daryl Klein, how has Cole been at center? Is center a stable position? Stable's a good word for it. I think Cole's had a nice summer overall. I would say that Cole and Chukwuma Okorafor have been the 2 serviceable offensive linemen on this team. You get a couple more of those, you'll be somewhere good. But I think Cole has looked solid and been available and kind of is a more throwback, physical, aggressive dude with good play strengths overall and a decent run blocker. And centers are going to be asked to do more in pass protection this year. The guards will help the tackles a lot. So centers are going to be one-on-one quite a bit, not looking for work nearly as often. And so I think Cole has given me one small source of comfort, relatively speaking, along this offensive line.
Okay.
Let's see. Jason Bodine, he's back, and thank you for the helpful phonetics on that as well. Says, hello, Daleks. If Calvin Austin does not practice this week, might he be put on the 53-man roster and then IR? Also, which is in worse shape, the O-line or the inside linebackers? Yeah, if Austin does not practice this week, that's certainly a possibility. It sounds like he's trending in the right direction, so we'll have to see on that. But that's not out of the question there. And then who's in worse shape? It's got to be O-line. I mean, inside linebacker, you got to stud in Miles Jack. You can hide Devin Bush on a good defense overall more than you can hide 3 to 4 inadequate offensive linemen.
Right. I would agree with everything you just said.
Just got a $5 super chat here. Lou Boy, $5, says, I told y'all Mason was our best. He held his own. Yeah, I called Mason Rudolph as having the best overall summer camp and preseason action, just edging out Kenny Pickett. And Twitter was not happy with my commentary there. I just use that as a vacuum, not to say that Mason should be the starter, but just to say if you just based everything solely off of what's happened the last 3-4 weeks, I think Mason's been the best from start to finish overall. I think Pickett's improved in big and meaningful ways, and I just advocated for him to start. And Trubisky was more volatile, but he's going to be the starter, and as you said, has not lost that spot. But Lou Boy sent in the $5 super chat to say that he was right.
Okay.
Let's see, 15 minutes left. Be sure to get your questions in so we can get to as many as possible. Super chats will get you to the front of the line, just as they did for Lou Boy. Let me find the next one here. Let's see. Will Justin Lane ever live up to a third-round pick? You'd expect at least a decent role player, if not a serviceable starter. Justin Lane's about to get cut, unfortunately, probably in, I don't know, whatever the cut date is. Even if he was released from the 85 to 80, it would not shock me. He certainly, he had a good start to camp, and then he just kind of fell out of favor, playing behind a rookie and Chris Steele. So, short answer, Pittsburgh man, no, that's not going to happen. Not in Pittsburgh.
Right, I would agree.
Did I get a super chat in? Let me check something here. We did double HH. You don't have to send another one, my dude. Thank you, but that's plenty. We're closing your tab there. $20 super chat. If Pickett does show promise this season, at some point I can completely see Dave's prognostication of investing significant draft capital in the O-line next season. Yeah, I think regardless of who's your quarterback, you know that Pickett's going to be the starter next year. And even if he's not, you want a good offensive line, whether you have a good quarterback or bad quarterback. That's just the core of how your team is built inside out. So certainly, assuming that Moore and Green or Dotson don't have really strong years, you're going to go hunting pretty heavily for offensive line help next year.
Look, that's just me going out on a limb. No, I think everybody sees it, and you're probably going to need to think about an edge rusher at some point early as well, too, right? I love, and it all obviously depends where they pick in the first round. But I mean, you could see a guard or a tackle or an edge rusher from where I sit right now as the first round pick, and kind of go from there. Now, guards usually are the ones, if the Steelers are picking in that, I don't know, 16 to 25 range or something like that, that's where those guards seem to get crapped on, some good ones at times, and usually fall there. It's a little bit harder to get one of them top tier tackles, around that spot there. But sometimes too, the edge rushers that the Steelers like to get will sometimes fall past that 16 mark as well too. So I mean, we got a long way to go here for sure. But if I were to be asked to kind of narrow it down and read the tea leaves just from where we're at right now, heading into the final preseason game, I would tend to believe that your first round pick's probably either going to come out of a guard, a tackle, or an edge rusher.
Yeah, pretty safe bet there overall. My apologies to Lou Boy. He sent another $5 super chat. Didn't have to, but appreciate that. He just sent another one as well. We'll get to here in a second. We're cutting you off too, Lou Boy. He said the Mason Cole was his best. He said, I told y'all Mason Cole was our best. He just said Mason. So I apologize for that. He said Mason Cole held his own. You're right. I think Cole's had a nice summer and certainly
refund that man his money, Alex.
You didn't have to send another one. I would have saw that comment, but thank you, Lou Boy. And then he sent another $5 super chat. So he's throwing fives right now. It says, I think if Canada went up tempo with Mitch,
what is my name? Candy?
Send him into the main stage. Desiree
to the main stage, please. Desiree.
I think if Canada
how do you know that? You've never been in one of them places, have you?
I actually have not. I should go. I pass one on my way to training camp every single day. But
okay.
Anyway, I think if Canada went up tempo with Mitch, would have crushed the Jacksonville defense. Yeah, I don't know. Mitch was just trying to not get crushed himself, the way this offensive line was. So I thought Mitch did well given the circumstances of literally running for his life. Let's see. We have.
Yeah, hold on. I'm thinking about strippers.
Okay, yeah. All right. Things we can do on YouTube, not on the podcast. Any commentary about going up tempo in that game with Trubisky?
In the final?
Against the Jags, he says he should have went up tempo against Jacksonville.
I mean, look. I mean, you want to just see him try to get some clean snaps,
Right.
I think everything was kind of set up by design to put Kenny in the position to run that 2-minute. There, I think that's what they wanted to see. I think they just wanted to have Mitch kind of work on the actual things that he tried to work on there. So, I mean, do I have any problem with maybe in this finale and maybe putting Mitch in that 2-minute situation? Maybe that's something to think about.
Right, if it presents itself. I'm not sure if that's going to work. Well, I don't know how much Trubisky's going to play, if he plays at all. And while it was not super loud in Jacksonville, up-tempo on the road, it's a little more challenging. They were doing silent count type stuff, so I don't think that was really the plan to go up-tempo against the Jags. To Kobe0 sent a $2 super chat with no text and just sent another with a comment. Thoughts on Dan Moore Jr. so far? It's not been good. Short answer, which is, it's not exactly highbrow commentary from me there, but I think Moore struggled. Pat Meyer really seems to coach a lot of independent hands, not two-hand punches a lot, and Moore's been two-hand punching and missing quite a bit, and just he's not making good for significant contact. He's not being aggressive enough in his pass sets, and so
hands inside of him. He's getting hands to his chest quite a bit too.
Yeah, that's the you're not going to make burst significant contact if the guy's in your chest like that. So hand placement punch really has to be worked on for all these guys. But I think his sets overall have been too passive. The two-hand punches have not worked well. He's losing the edge that way. He's just not really as much, when Mason Cole says guys aren't trusting their technique, I think that it's applicable to a lot of guys, but also to Dan Moore for not doing some of the things that Meyer seems to preach quite a bit. Let's see. Is the way the O-line coach teaching not matching the talent? That's a $5 super chat from Tim Chase. Thank you for all the super chats today. Really appreciate that, guys. I think it's still a little too early to tell. You go through growing pains with a new coach. I mean, this team has had 3 offensive line coaches over the last 3 years, 2 over the last 2, obviously, and most of these guys are been with the team for 1 or 2 years. So when you're making those kind of changes, you're going to pay the price for that in terms of new teachings and vocabulary and just philosophies overall. And I think Pittsburgh's realizing, just in the way if you had a new OC for a quarterback in 3 straight years, you would say, well, the quarterback's struggling. No wonder. You have a new coach every single year. You're feeling some of that this year with these guys. Let's go back up here. Got about 10 minutes left. I'll try to go through the most maybe poignant questions overall. Thank you guys for the support today so far. Let's see. Can we cut Derek Watt yet? I'd rather have McFarland on the team. That's from the Pittsburgh man. Ross Swisher says, hey, Alex and Dave, you guys ready for Trey Hendrickson to have 4 sacks on us in week 1? Dan Moore's a swing tackle at best. Yeah, there's a lot of good pass rushers early, a lot of good guys in the north. You see Hendrickson week 1. You're going to see Myles Garrett week 3, so you better, get these problems fixed pretty fast. Let's see. Chris W. wants Kendrick Green back at center. So I assume, Dave, you're not really banging the table for Kendrick Green at center.
What league?
Yeah. Not the NFL, I don't think. Let's see. So I got somebody last
month. I already had that T-shirt. I don't need another one.
That's true. Zach Banner, he's still a free agent. I have no idea how the health of that knee is, but I don't think he's going to be coming back nor solving any of the problems there. Let's see. A lot of commentary here. Let's see. Got a comment. I watched Mark Robinson's film from you guys on the website. He looked great. What's the thing that's keeping him from starting? Because I don't see it. Just being a one-year guy. Coverage overall. Understanding probably. There's a lot of vanilla stuff happening in front of him, so understanding some more higher-level stuff, route concepts behind him, things like that. But certainly Robinson's start has been really promising.
Yeah, it has. And once again, if you want one thing right now to be excited about heading into this finale, especially with several of these guys probably going to be held out of this one, make sure you have you get ready to watch a lot of 93 on that film. I think I know I will be, and that guy could be your potential counterpart to Miles Jack by the midway point of the season, if not sooner here. I'm watching clips right now on my Twitter feed that I clipped out of him, and there's a lot to be excited about. Now, he's going to have to learn the scheme probably a little bit more and intricacies, but as far as a raw player goes here, and make no mistake, that's what he is, a one-year linebacker at Ole Miss after moving from running back, and that's he did more than enough there to kind of catch the Steelers' eyes and get himself drafted there. I mean, just the progression that he's probably seemingly made to them from the Ole Miss tape until right this moment is a hell of a jump,
Yeah.
So keep putting him in positions where he can succeed right now, and maybe that's not starting week 1, maybe that's not starting week 2, but Devin. This all, as I always like to say, these things always have a way of working themselves out, whether it be injury or poor play or anything along those lines. And this will work its way out more than likely in Mark Robinson's favor. And I'm going, more than likely by the week after the bye, probably at the latest, I have a feeling.
Yeah, we'll see. They like Spillane, and he's had a good summer too. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be a dramatically different player than what he's been, but you understand he's more downhill, he's more physical, and embodies some of those things his team's looking for coming off a historically bad run defense season.
Look, I'll tell you what, I'd rather have a guy that maybe not know 100% what's going on around him that can hit and fire through a gap than a guy that maybe does know what's going on, but wants to turn his back to a tight end.
Sure. No, I get that. And you learn by doing. You got to be out there and make some mistakes, and that's how you're going to get better in this league. That's the only way to do it. So I get that. Bergen why not put a core 4-2 left tackle and put Hake in at right tackle? And I just got a super chat, so I just lost my place here. Let me restart this one. Why not put a core 4-2 left tackle and put Hagan at right tackle, move Moore to left guard, and Daniels to center? So a real, what do they call that, Chinese fire drill, this offensive line here right before the season begins. I get all that on paper, although Moore to left guard, probably less so. He's never played there before. But moving all those guys have a lot of unintended consequences, and I think it's really about just trying to work on technique and follow Meyer's teachings more than it is that they're not in the right spots.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see. I mean, I threw it out there, just what ran through my head. If people listen to the last podcast there, just brainstorming, not thinking it's going to happen. But I would almost consider, if it stays bad here, maybe moving Daniels to center and Cole over to left. If you're going to go the wholesale change route, like the listener is suggesting there, I would go a core forward to left tackle, Cole to left guard, Dotson to right guard, Daniels to center, and Joe Haig at right tackle. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Yeah, a couple of Hail Marys on that one.
But if you're gonna do those kind of changes, and they're not, at least I don't think they are, that's the way I would do it. I mean, that's fantasy offensive line construction.
Right.
So but if we're going to think out loud that way, that's the way I would think out loud.
The real solution, the real boring one people won't like me to hear is these guys need reps. They need to play a ton in this finale.
Boo! Take no more super chats for Alex.
Yeah, I've been banned. And then look for roster cut downs and maybe a tackle or guard or both, and add some help that way, and replace those starters if they don't play well during the season. That's going to be the way they approach things overall.
Kenny. We'll get Kenny in this game.
Right, for sure. A couple more minutes for a couple more questions. A comment here from Ozzy and a good one to remind ourselves of. Steeler fans have short memories. I remember in the preseason in 05, Maddox looked amazing and Ben looked like trash. Can't judge from the preseason. That was 04, but point taken. I don't remember how Ben looked back then, but understanding that preseason action and regular season action are two different levels, and play in one does not always become indicative of play in the other. But all you can judge is what they've done so far. That's what the coaches have to do, and that's what we do as well.
I love when that tape drops, man.
I know.
I love that feeling when I'm the first one into our group chat that says tape.
you always are, because you're refreshing the whole time. It's every 4 seconds.
All 22 is dropped. That's magical words.
What did we do before all 22? Because that's pretty new. We haven't had that.
What we did is we rest in peace, Alan Gifford, one of the early site contributors. He would do the charting for me, and I would dare to evaluate offensive line play off of TV tape. That's how. And there's posts on this site, on the site, for the first couple of years. That's the way we did it, and there's so much stuff that you just don't see, man. It is fun to remember back, but I don't want to go back there anymore. For sure, because that's a crude way to go about doing it, but that's all we had to work with.
Right. Publicly, if you're a listener and want to get some all 22, check out NFL Plus or NFL Game Pass. I think whatever remnants of that still exists. There's some stuff on there, or you got to just know the right people as well. Anthony Johnson, when will Chris Odokin get reps at quarterback? That is one question I have. Will we see any of Odokin? Maybe real late in this game, last 2-3 drives with some very base install type stuff. I could see that with Odokin. He got 19 reps to finish out camp, so that was 19 more than it was trending towards over the last, over the first 14 practices. So maybe late in this game he plays a tiny bit.
Alex, go ahead and give them 15 more minutes if they got question. I mean, we haven't done one of these in a while, and I think we got a lot of people in here, right?
Yeah. I was going to go over tonight because I know it's been a while, so we'll try to get to as many as we can. Appreciate you guys sticking around. I don't know if we'll get to new questions because there's probably a lot still outstanding, but we'll do our best overall. Bergen Inda, would you trade next year's first or second round pick for a left tackle like Tunsil, Decker, or Smith from Dallas, hypothetically? I don't know one name from there. Smith's older and battled injuries, but yeah, Laramie Tunsil for a first-round pick? Yes. And will Houston ever do that? No. But would I give a first-round pick for a stud tackle in a heartbeat? Because you're going to draft the left tackle in the first round anyway and hope that guy's good. So give me a guy that I know is good.
Oh, yeah. If you could give me a known commodity right now versus an unknown commodity, and especially if that guy still has multiple years on his contract, I wouldn't trade for one that's got 1 year left on his contract or something,
Right.
Unless I know for sure that I was prepared to franchise tag that guy, but I mean, just short answer, yeah, depending on the person.
Double HH, we got to cut you off. I'm going to find a way to try to refund this one. Another $20 super chat with a very fun comment. For the next 15 minutes, Cinnamon
You keep
and
it up,
Desiree.
Alex is going to have enough money to go to this.
Yeah, right.
To go to the club.
Right. I guess you're Cinnamon and I'm Desiree in this scenario,
All right.
I believe.
All right.
So that's us for the next 15 minutes. But
I don't look as good in a thong as Alex does.
Okay. All right. All right. Maybe we shouldn't go 15 minutes. Maybe this will be our last live stream. At Carmichael, the sports guru, Tomlin weighs in-game performance over practice and training camp. Mason is supposed to look the best. He's been there the longest. I believe that's in reference to my commentary about Mason looking the best. I don't disagree with that one bit. My training camp grades are just that, based off of solely what they did in training camp, without all the other outside stuff. Does not necessarily draw conclusions for who's good and who's bad, and who should start, and who's going to look good through the regular season. It's just solely based off of, in a vacuum, the best that I can, their play this summer. So that's the response there. Let's see. Colby already asked about Dan Moore. That was in the super chat. Anthony asked about Chris Oladokin. Let's see. Bergen wants Matt Filer to come back. I don't know what he's up to these days. He's out there in LA. I don't know how he's running and looking overall. Louis, do you think coaching is more of a problem with this O-line as opposed to talent? This new system would explain a lot, especially with Daniels. Yeah, uncomfortable is the word that I've used to describe this offensive line, trying to adjust to some of these teaching, and hopefully things get better as we go along. But certainly this is not an all-star offensive line. Even at their best, they're still going to have their problems.
Yeah, and Alex has got like a 22 or 23 minute, which probably several of you have already watched, but if you haven't, on his YouTube channel there, that he just broke down for today with the offensive line and the issues. So if you haven't watched that, run over there after you get off this chat and watch it.
Faded Pops, a lot of O-line talk here, understandably so. What I understand, the two-hand punch one is supposed to be one above the other, not side by side. I really don't like the technique being taught. Yeah, Meyer's system, and that's in that video, kind of some of the conclusions at the end. When it works, it works. When you win early, and you dominate the rep. When you lose pretty badly. I think it works much better against power and bull rush type moves, and works worse against finesse and swipes and spins and things like that from what I've seen so far in the tape. So, does Meyer have the right philosophy? There's pros and cons to every sort of teaching, and I've kind of seen both so far. You would have think that him and Duke Manyweather would have ironed that out this past off season. Yeah, I mean, Duke's not, I like Duke a lot. He's a really smart guy. I'm glad that Dan Morris worked with him, but that's not a magical cure-all if he's doing things that are new to him right now. That's from 2 Colby 0. Dark Side of Paradise. What happened to the days when the Steelers had offensive linemen 7 deep? Oh, yeah, they let Mike Munchak go. I guess just the question is how much, and we ask this all the time, but how much does this team miss Mike Munchak, Dave?
Well, look at the guys he did have to work with too. I'm not taking any. I think Mike Munchak is a very, 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 very good offensive line coach. But let's not forget the pedigree of the guys and the talent that he had to work with on top of it there. So as good of the old saying, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken.
You know what? Yes.
You know what? There. I mean, you got to have some talent to work with there too. So I understand the easy thing to say is, man, they should have just brought in Mike Munchak. But in all fairness, you have to wonder with guys like Kendrick Green and Dan Moore, how much would he be able to help those guys?
Yeah, I think you summed it up well. Munchak had the benefit of a lot of talent, more established guys, and helped take some of those guys to the next level. I think Pat Meyer has that kind of teacher mentality, but he's certainly not going to be the next Mike Munchak on this team. I think I did miss a super chat from Lou Boy. Edmonds in the hybrid linebacker. I know we mentioned that earlier. Would not anticipate that happening overall. I understand the idea behind it, but would not expect it. State of the Steelers. Any chance Bush is benched for Spillane? Is that a possibility, Dave?
To start to say, yeah. Look, Bush has, in my eye, has locked nothing up yet, other than he's so damn hard to cut because of guaranteed salary there. They really would have to be dissatisfied with him, even as a backup to part ways with him. So I would think. I think you're going to see some rotation in there, Alex, come the start of the season, as they maybe hope to get Mark Robinson on the fast track here. So is it impossible for Bush to start on the sideline. I mean, I don't think you can rule that out.
Yeah, I think Bush will start week 1, but I'm with you. I've mentioned this for a while that I think Spillane will start eating into that playing time, and how and when and where that looks like. I'm not quite sure. Maybe some more, base 3-4 defense type stuff, but Spillane's just been more productive and better against the run, and I think Pittsburgh will value that than just say that, listen, Spillane is better, and that's ultimately all that matters. Let's see, couple more questions to go through. Joker Smoker, just watched your video on the O-line. Alex, do you think Meyer is trying to square peg round hole with his blocking philosophy, or just growing pains? I think it's more the latter. I don't think these linemen are incapable of doing what Pat Meyer is saying. This is not so. It's not like it's even zone scheme versus these guys are built for more of a power man scheme. It's not even that. It's just some of the techniques and stuff that Meyer asks these guys to use. Meyer is kind of flexible overall in some of the stuff and how you win. You're probably going to see some butt blocks this year, which are going to be intentional. They're coached to spin the spinner, and so you may see some stuff that looks funky. But Pat Meyer just said, crap happens, and you got to get the job done sometimes. But I think it's probably just more getting used to some of those nuances that are different than what Adrian Clem taught. Let's see what else we have here. Logan Yawn, are there any trade scenarios or signings for the O-line you could see Khan or Tomlin being interested in? Yeah, I think they'll explore, who those names are. I have not taken a look at. I'll ask you the question. I'm guessing the answer is no, given the financials of it all. But Isaiah Wynn of the Patriots is apparently on the block right now. That's the rumor. He's on that 5th-year option, so it's a lot of money. Is there any scenario in which that could potentially be worked out, Dave?
Man, with him being, I think, on a 10-4 salary right now with that 5th-year option, and with his injury history, I mean, it'd be a hell of a damn dice roll, do you really want to trade anything of value away for a $10.4 million rental that has had problems, I think, staying healthy?
Sure.
I guess it depends on how desperate, desperate times calls for, to me, you'd have to be pretty damn desperate to do that,
This team feels a little desperate right now.
Right. I would be shocked if they did that. I mean, if you did do that, you would have to be able to turn around and sign him to an extension. And if you sign him to an extension, he's going to want at least an average yearly value of what he's making now, which is $10.4 million or more. And then he's going to turn the whole hierarchy, I just don't see it possible.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely.
You could do it. Obviously, you could do it from a cap standpoint. You just have to restructure, Watt and all like that. You can make it work from the cap perspective. It's just the economical and risk versus reward factor. And you'd obviously have to give up something to get them. I would be surprised if that happens.
I'm with you. I think so as well, but that's one name that I know seems to be quote-unquote available that I'm sure we'll get asked about more over the next week and a half. Anthony Johnson, why do you think Miles Boykin makes a team over Vaughn or Sims? The dirty 2 words that people hate us saying, special teams. And I know Sims can do kicks and punts, but Olszewski's going to do that and be that guy. Boykin's done well as a gunner, I thought, overall, and I think he's probably be a starting gunner week 1 against the Bengals. So that's the big reason there.
And Gunner Boykin gives you that guy that you can play the Z,
right.
If need be, and it would have to take probably an injury or something for him, I think, at this point to not make it, because he does a fine job of beating those double vices out there and getting downfield, and if Danny Smith has his way, I think Boykin's going to be on this roster.
He does a better job than McFarland. Poor McFarland. He shouldn't be a gunner. Remember that year they made Matthew Thomas, linebacker, a gunner for a hot minute? Just random stuff that pops up. Joker Smoker, to follow up on his Meyer comment. From your video, it sounded like Meyer is teaching a feast or famine type of technique that does not seem optimal for such a young group. Yeah, I understand that. I think there's a lot of risk reward with the teachings in general, and these guys are struggling to recover when they are beat. And like I said, I think finesse guys are going to give Pittsburgh more problems than the more power type of guys. And so I think that's a generally speaking, a fair assessment, Joker Smoker. I saw a question, do I think the Steelers are playoff contenders this year? That comes from Justin. I guess we're getting pretty close to our season predictions, huh? I kind of don't love those. So I won't give you an answer right now because I have not thought about it enough, and we'll see how the finale shakes out. But they'll be in the mix. I think that's reasonable to say as long as the offensive line just gets at least a little bit better.
Yeah, my optimism probably isn't as high as yours right now.
All right, that's fair.
We'll see. We still got 20 days until the start of the season, and probably a good 17 before we have to make our prediction, I think.
Double HH, no super chat, so thank you for that. But Bush versus Spillane, golly, is this our Sophie's Choice? That's a movie reference, isn't it? Sophie's Choice, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I hear that. Hopefully Mark Robinson becomes something. And listen, maybe he does play his rookie year. Vince Williams was not supposed to play his rookie year. And, like I said earlier, foot gets hurt. And he played, he kind of rotated. Actually, they dropped Troy down that year to kind of play as a linebacker type role. So we'll see. But I hear the pain there, Double HH. Let's see. Anything else here to do? Logan says, Hey, Alex and Dave, thank you for all you do on Steelers Depot and the podcast. How did Alu look on film? Always tough coming back from a season-ending injury. I thought he looked fine. I was just happy he was out there. It was kind of fitting he played that game in Jacksonville. He was on the ground one time. I think somebody trapped him and knocked him down, but I thought Alu looked, decent.
Yeah, look, I had a terrible take dedicated to him several weeks ago when he started off on the active PUP list and all because of a little bit concerned about that knee of his and all. But the fact that he was out there knocking the rust off at all automatically puts him in the win category as far as I'm concerned. I thought he had a couple good reps in there, had the patented Alu bat down, and you're going to see 3, 4, 5 of those if he stays healthy throughout the season there. So, closer look at the tape. I thought he played reasonably well for the amount of time that he was out there. He was on the ground, I think, 1 or 2 times, but it wasn't a perfect night for him. But once again, the fact that he was out there was a huge W as far as I'm concerned because they missed him last year.
They did. One comment, couple of questions to finish things out. One comment being, man, Tyler Vaughn has been my favorite receiver besides our starting 3. Yeah, Vaughn is he's pushing hard for a practice squad spot there. He's come up strong at the end of games. And Tyler Vaughn is somebody I think that's going to stick around this roster. Does not have elite athletic tools, but just a really good route runner overall. I know Tyler Wise is a pretty big fan of Tyler Vaughn's.
And I think he's got a film room coming up on him, doesn't he? So there's something to look forward to there, right?
Yep. So check out the site you're looking at right now, Steelers Depot, for that film room a little bit later this week. John says, do you think the Steelers waited too long to sign an offensive line coach? Took a little bit of time for them to get Pat Meyer, I think, hired. I know it was, an underwhelming hire at the time. I don't know what that process was like, if they offered other guys or whatever the case was. So that's really hard to answer overall.
Yeah, that's tough to kind of answer.
Chris says we need to sign J.C. Treader, a good center and available. Center's not an issue. If you wanted to move Treader to guard, then I guess that's the argument to make there, or move Cole to guard. But I think Treader should go back to Cleveland because they got a lot of injuries there, but I don't know what's going to happen. Vergen, would you trade Claypool for a quality offensive lineman? Hypothetically, I don't know. That's such a broad hypothetical. Probably not. The player-for-player stuff feels a little Madden-y. I understand the question you're asking if I personally would do it, but again, teams are not looking to give away good offensive linemen overall. Could a Tevin Jenkins, not for Claypool, but he's on the block. New regime in Chicago. Pittsburgh likes pedigree. They like Jenkins coming out. I wouldn't be shocked if there was some sort of deal involving Tevin Jenkins.
Right, but I don't think even though Claypool is, he's still got 2 years left. So
for Clay. I'm not suggesting Claypool for Jenkins, right, but somewhat like a 6th-round pick for Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, but boy, if they were, surely they'd find a better offer for him than that, I would think.
Maybe. Some other non-Claypool related capital for Tevin Jenkins, I guess. I could just see that given, because Tomlin loves his pedigree. He just loves pedigree to the hills. Whenever he was on that, was it the pivot? He just man, these guys talk about hand usage. Just talk to me about pedigree. That's this whole thing. just I don't care about anything else. Just what's your pedigree? And so that's really what Tomlin loves there. Let's see anything else here. John asking about the next wave of cuts. Those come up tomorrow and probably before practice. I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much. Justin Lane would not shock me if he was cut tomorrow, maybe to give him a head start on finding a new home.
You can send a kicker free, right? The extra kicker free. That's one, probably, right?
Oh, do you want Boss kicking in the finale? I'm good with Skiba closing this thing out, but maybe. I don't know. I don't want to risk Boss pulling something in the finale. Yeah, I don't know what else they're gonna do. An outside linebacker, maybe a receiver. Who knows?
Let's see. You've got I don't know. Do you need Jeter an extra week? Mateo, how many running backs do you need to dress in this game?
Max Borghi might go, or Mateo.
Max Borghi was one of the last ones in. Who else?
Chaz Green. I don't. Ugh.
Yeah.
Chaz Green. Yeah, I don't know. We can go through. I mean, I guess Lane, Borghi, maybe a receiver, Christian Blake. Although I think Blake's been okay.
What about Valters? James Valters?
Yeah, if Highsmith comes back, I mean, you probably don't need an edge guy. So
Ryan McCollum, is he going to get any snaps?
Yeah, he might actually, because he's to play center. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Probably find out tomorrow morning.
As Chuck Noll used to say, the problem isn't cutting; it's stopping.
Is that what he said? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh, let's see. What else do we have here? Would I consider signing Eric Fisher? That's some Claude Bishop. Probably not. I'm not really intrigued by Eric Fisher. I think that's probably going to do it. So appreciate you guys hanging out with Dave and I. Know it's been over a month since our last live stream, but again, camp just made that really not logistically possible for us to do stuff during the summer. So we'll be back here in 2 weeks, getting close to the start of the season. So appreciate you guys being here. The support was awesome. The super chats were fantastic. Certainly not required, but appreciated all the same. So thank you, Dave, for, or should I say Cinnamon, for our time tonight.
Anytime I could help. Hope I did not disgust people with my dancing tonight. So
they're still
Alex,
here.
Yeah, Alex, you do a great job putting these on, make them very enjoyable. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and peace and love.
Yep, you can see an archive version of this on Steelers Deeper on the website here in a little bit. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to not miss our next live stream 2 Mondays from now, and got some more great content for you guys on the site throughout the week. So appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you soon.